It's interesting because I remember seeing a study that even just alignment on something as so critically important as who is our ICP? Who's our ideal customer profile? And if you were to go around an executive table and have everybody in private write who they think the ICP is, if there was 10 people in the room, you might have 10 different definitions. But that has to be part of the North Star of where our organization is headed and going. A lot of conversation has been around that we are, as humans, our behavior is mapped to how we're compensated internally within our companies. And like CROs, chief sales officers, a big part of their responsibility, obviously, is sales, and they have a quota over their head. We go into the boardrooms and nobody's asking about the brand. Everybody's asking about, hey, how's this quarter turning out? What does next quarter look like? All KPIs seem to be very short-term focused. Quotas, behaviors are short-term focused. But I know your responsibility as the chief marketing officer has to be short-term pipeline development. There's no doubt about it. But we all know that today's brand sets up tomorrow's demand. So there is this tension that exists between long-term goals and objectives and short-term goals and objectives. How do you try to bridge that gap? Because it is a gap. It does create a lot of internal misalignment.
Those 12 months are so important because you have guided to a particular earning. You've got to deliver on that. So the 12 months becomes 10 and 6 as you get closer to the end of the fiscal year. So I think as a marketer, it's that second point you spoke about. If you truly understand the potential in the business, you're going to want to know everything about your customer. And that customer intimacy becomes a boardroom topic. I like to think that every human has a head and a heart. And when you're thinking about customer intimacy, you're not only appealing to the decisions that they make in their head. If I was to take all my B2C environments, you're creating an emotional connection and a relationship with your buyers. So in this digital world, we are trying to form trust. And that is multi-year. That can't be a decision that's 12 months. Oh, this year we're going to do X, Y, and Z, or this year we're going to do. That is really, truly understanding what they say. And so to go to this head and heart thing, I have this North Star quote from Nelson Mandela, being South African. He said when he was trying to get the country to integrate and really respect one another as different cultures and different value systems. If you speak to somebody in a language they understand, they will think with their head. But if you speak to them in their language, you'll go to their heart. And what that is about is that's really that long-term relationship is if you've made that emotional connection. So it's a little bit of my North Star as I think about a customer. We've got so much technology that can help us define the ICP, but it's all going to be segmentation and style, putting them in an archetype that looks like this. And if you were to ask around that boardroom table, everybody would probably have the same demographic, actually, but they haven't spoken once about how that person behaves. And when in that person's day, they might be open to thinking about a new technology that they need. Or do they only think about it when hair on fire and they need to figure out a solution really quickly? So really understanding the voice of customer, but how that customer behaves, how long they contemplate, when do they react, is really, really important. And it's multi-year. It's part of the brand. Your brand has to stand for that. And it has to be multi-year in the way that you think about it and develop it. And the only way to do that is actually to have conversations with customers, which is harder in today's digital world. And when you've got macro environments encouraging you to be more efficient and not to engage in big research studies and things like that. We spoke about, where did focus groups go? Think about focus groups. What were you doing? You weren't just listening to what the consumer or the buyer was talking about. You were seeing how they behaved. Did their eyes light up? Did they get frustrated? Did they visibly do something that made you aware that they were more emotionally connected or less emotionally connected? Were the people in the room introverted? And in that way, it means that you've got to keep giving them information until they want it. They don't want to engage with a human. So all of these things. And certainly it's been at least 15 years since I've done a focus group. I've done a ton of surveys and I've done a ton of this, but I haven't seen the human behavior for some time.